Welcome back to the video blog. My name is Adam Daniel Mezei. AdamDanielMezei.com, PMDforHire.com. This is for you, Harmony. Little Gilligan style. I don't think Gilligan had sunglasses though, but let's just leave that out of the discussion. Just a moment. Guerrilla Film, baby. Guerrilla Filmmaker's Pocketbook. Check it out. Chris Jones, Judy Goldberg, Genevieve Joliffe, Andrew Zins. One love. Alright, what I'm about to describe is something that most people can relate to. Being of this generation, people that are working with computers on a regular basis, you just don't have time to read books. Those thick tomes, the ones that are like door stoppers, when they land on the ground, they make something akin to an atomic explosion. The one that this particular camera is even propped up on, nobody has time to read books like that anymore. To sit back, to flip pages, to smell the acid-free paper or the acid-infested paper. Nobody really allocates time to do that anymore. We're reading blogs, we're reading tweets, we're watching videos, we're reading ebooks, which are also books, but not really the same kind of a thing, because unfortunately when you do read an ebook, unless you go totally unplugged, you're constantly distracted by things like Facebook, Twitter, and social media. I don't think people read books anymore. Now, I'm really glad that I read all the books that I did in the noughts, in the last decade. It sounds so long ago. I felt really dumb. Circa late 90s, I found myself getting into conversations with people, and I really didn't know what they were talking about. I mean, I'd known of things. I'd heard of the things that they were referring to. I knew them in a cursory sort of a way, or I suppose I knew the victor side of the story. You know, the kind of slogans, the propaganda, the hot button issues, all the things that the powers that be want you to believe about an issue. But I didn't know the in-depth story. There were plenty of things that I didn't know. I was a good student. I graduated from university. I was in the top 5 percentile of my class. I taught a course in organizational behavior in 1993. It was a pilot program at McGill University in Montreal, where I went to school. I did very well. I was a great student. I made studying my job, and at the time that was really where things were going in the early 90s. We were still on a kind of a cusp where it looked like if you did well in school, you got the plum job. So I made that my kind of mission. But I noticed that there were a lot of kids coming from, well, what we call the international students, kids that were coming from other countries, and they knew a whole heck of a lot of stuff about basic things that I didn't know about. Now, this is pre-internet days, so you couldn't just bring up Wikipedia pages or things like that, or, you know, get onto Facebook or pop a tweet and ask somebody, or Google stuff even. That wasn't even part of the show in those days. So I decided that I was going to read a whole slew of books around about late 2000. And I went on a tear. I went on an absolute tear. I think in 2001 I read something like 350 books. I went crazy. I went absolutely crazy. I binged out. I focused on particular subject areas. I focused on particular themes. And I'd go in a line, like I'd read 20 books about something in a line. And it covered the gamut. But I read a lot of history. I read a lot of history, thick books, really fat ones. The bigger the better. If I'd go to the library or I'd buy like an 800-page book, I would just blow through the thing, and I wouldn't finish until I stopped. I spend all of my free time in waking hours reading books, and I do a little bit of writing and dabbling on the computer. You know, in those days, internet was just kind of coming out of the bubble, or just heating up, however you want to look at it, and I read like a maniac. I still read very, very avidly. I still buy books, and I still have a nice selection of books in my library. But I'm a little bit remiss to say that I don't read as much as I used to. And I used to get to one book a week clip. That was my clip. And I haven't been able to really keep up with it. What I'm trying to do lately is allocate at least 1 hour per day where I read. And I try to double things up because I'll get to the gym and I'll bike and read. I'm trying to sort of like maximize my waking hours so that I can, you know, leverage as much of my time as possible. Now, that might sound a little bit odd, but I really have to do that. Otherwise, I don't get to the books, and I really think that most of the good learning that I do, most of the in-depth, factual absorption of details that I really want to know for myself, it's kind of an egotistical, self-centered pursuit, if I can say it as such, because I need to know, I want to know, I have an absolute craving and a desire and an insatiable need, and I don't understand why, but that's how my brain functions, that's the way I'm hardwired, to know everything about the things that I want to know about. And, for example, right now I'm reading a book on Singapore. I'm reading Lee Teng-Hoa's autobiography, the first Prime Minister of Singapore. I'm crazy about it. I don't know why. And that's the kind of stuff that I like to read. But unfortunately, you can't get through an 850-page book, you know, when you're busy blogging and trying to make a living and keeping in touch with everybody. I go on sort of a lot of insects today flying around. There's an insect on my camera, sort of interrupt you. Crazy. I try to... What did I want to say? See, I forgot. Don't talk about insects and then get distracted. Yeah, I forgot. I totally blanked out. Okay, I'll just have to drop that line and look back on... because this is only the one-take monkey, so I'll have to look back when I put this back online and see what I missed. Yeah. That's crazy. Alright. So do you have the same problem? Do you not get to the kind of books that you think that you need to read, that you absolutely need to cover? For work, for leisure, novels. I started to read a lot more novels. I found that the novels that I read, I get so much more of an oomph, of an impactful read than I do from reading factual stuff. I don't know why that is. But I'm really glad that I read all those books back in the early noughts, because if I were at that age today, I don't think I'd even get around to it. I'd be so engrossed in other nonsense, or the thrust from society to get so involved with social media would be so absolutely enormous that you would have a tremendous amount of trouble resisting that urge, that inexorable urge to sort of meld with this whole social media collective garbage, which ultimately, like most of the experts are citing for themselves, amounts to absolutely nothing other than the fact that you get to network with a whole lot of like-minded, intelligent beings, and also probably just getting your word out there of what you're capable of and what you can do and how you can write and how you can articulate yourself. So that's the blog for today, and sorry for blanking out there. I have no idea what I was trying to say, and I'm sure I'll giggle when I watch this in playback, just in case you're looking for something to take a look at instead of television. You might want to check out that show. And as always, and with Snapple, please sponsor Vincent Ferrari already, insignificantthoughts.com. Sponsor the guy. He's worth it, for crying out loud. Damn. Wishing you the best of things. Take care. I won't blank out tomorrow, I promise.